Hi, I'm Kieran. I'm the Logistics Manager here at CrowdComms, and welcome to the second printer setup video. So today we're looking at the Zebra ZD421T. T is very important, that's the thermal transfer one. We don't want direct thermal. So another unboxing video. So the first thing that we came across, we've got the cables. And we have some plastic yellow tubes and what is almost like a toilet roll cardboard tube. Then we've got the printer power supply. And finally, we have the main Zebra unit. A lot smaller, a lot lighter than the Epson model. This one doesn't print in colour, it just prints in black ribbon. A couple of things to note with this, ribbon does come separately, so you will need to order the printer ribbon in order to operate these. So, first thing that we want to do, you've got these yellow clips on the side here. Push them forward or away from you, and then the lid opens up like so. Now, again, this is another printer that can actually do either roll, feed, or fan fold. All our badge stock we use is fan fold. The first thing we want to do, though, is actually position these guides so that it's the right width for the badge stock. So, what we're going to do for that, we're going to grab a wadge of our badge stock, and we're just going to pull the guides apart and get it so that it's almost just touching. It doesn't want to be completely touching because we don't want it to grab and potentially not be pulled through the printer. So almost touching, and then there's actually a very little grey catch which you can just push down and it then locks it into place. We can then put our badge stock for the side for a minute. Next thing we want to do is grab the ribbon. So with the ribbon, it's actually got a bit of tape attached onto it. So if we're behind the Zebra, we want to get it so that that tape is actually peeling down. And then with that, we're going to grab one of the yellow tubes, and it wants to come in from the right hand side if we're behind the printer, into it like that. So again, we've got the edge of the yellow pipe, and the ribbon actually goes down and underneath. We can put that to one side for a moment. Then we want to grab our toilet roll and our yellow tube, and we're just going to put that inside as well. Now, looking from the top of the printer, we've got two rolls. We've got a bottom roll and a top roll. Now this tube, the empty tube, that's the waste ribbon tube. That one wants to go onto the top roller. So what you're going to do, you're going to press this section in just here, and there's actually a little yellow bit that comes out on the other side just to help you grab hold of it and keep it pulled out. Then with the tube, the yellow end wants to be on the right hand side of you. You push the cardboard end in first, and then there is a little bit of force here. You just need to slot it in, and then you'll actually see that there's some teeth that line up, and then that is then held in there nice and securely. We're then going to do exactly the same with the ribbon one. So again, we want the yellow tube to be on the right hand side, and we need the ribbon to be going down and away from us. So we're going to just feed it in. Again, we can push through, grab the yellow from the other side, and it's a little bit fiddly, and there should be teeth which again line up and hold it into place. The final step is then to grab the ribbon from underneath over the top, and then that is going to stick on to the cardboard tube like so, and it should look something like that. Then all you're going to do is wind this yellow wheel here until you see the black strip of the ribbon. And we're just going to stop and leave it there. So now we need to download the printer driver. So for this, we're going to go on to Google. And we're going to type in zebra.com/setup. So from here, scroll down, we want the Windows download. And it's the Zebra Setup Utilities for Windows. And we're just going to download that file. So click agree and download. And then we're just going to run it. So we're going to go through all the options, click next, accept, next, 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 next again, and it's going to start installing it all for us. Keep accepting, and then we're going to click finish. So we're not going to run Zebra Setup Utilities yet, we're just going to click finish. And what you should then see is you get a zebra icon on the screen. Now we're going to jump back to the printer quickly. What I now want you to do is, with a bit of blank badge stock, which I've got some more here, I'm just going to feed it into the back. So in the back, you've got a little hole here that it feeds through. And with this, you need the black mark to be down and at the front of the badge. So don't want the black mark at the bottom of the badge, it needs to be at the top of the badge. Now you need to feed this in with the door open, so we're just going to feed in from the back. It's going to go through the guides, and then it wants to come out about 1 inch in the front, and then we're just going to close the door down. Now with the cables for this one, so we've got the power cable that slots in at the bottom, and that wants to connect to your kettle lead, which is then going to go to your wall socket or your floor socket or extension lead. And then you've got your printer USB. Now to keep things out of the way, what I like to do with this is I actually like to feed it underneath the power cable, and then it plugs in. The nice thing about this is it just keeps all the cables to the side and away from your badge stock. So I'm just going to turn that straight on again. And now we're going to plug that into the laptop or your computer. From here, switch the Zebra on. So just press the power button down, and what you'll see is that there'll be an orange light on the top, and then once that's gone green, it's going to power up. Perfect, so it's gone green. From here, we're then going to run Zebra Setup Utilities. So back onto the laptop, allow it to make changes. The printer drivers will now be preloaded. These drivers will be used to communicate with the printer. So this is now the printer and the laptop talking to each other, and it's going to install the right drivers for the correct printer. So this is why we didn't run it earlier while it wasn't connected to the printer. And then it brings up this window here. So now we need to go in and we need to start setting up the actual badge size that we've got. So I'm going to go into configure printer settings. Now again, I like working in millimeters. I find it a lot easier. I know our friends in America are going to prefer inches. For this, in millimeters, our badge stock over here is 96.5 millimeters wide, and it is 268 millimeters long. This is a really important bit now. So at the moment, the orientation is the opposite way to our Epson printers, which we use for all of our pre-printing. So we need to actually go in and we need to rotate 180 degrees. From here we can click next. Now this page, the only setting we need to worry about, we don't need to worry about speed or draft mode, we just need to worry about the darkness setting. We want it on maximum darkness. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, click 30, and next. On this page, we want thermal transfer, that is correct. That is basically it's heating up the ribbon and that's then transferring onto the badge stock. That's how this printer works. We don't have labels with gaps though. We actually have continuous labels, but they're labels with black marks. So we need to click onto labels with black marks. That's basically the detection, so it knows the end of the badge where it needs to stop. Everything else we don't need to worry about, so we can just click next all the way through and finish. Now from here, what you want to do is actually go into the Windows printer settings. So devices, printers and scanners, and you should see it's this Zebra ZD421, this one just here. So we're then going to go into the printing preferences and we're just checking through on here. So we've got the right width, we've got the right height, it's with black mark, it's rotated 180 degrees. We then want to go to the print options. Again, the speed's correct, it's on maximum darkness, can't get any darker than that. Thermal transfer. What we do need to change is the top offset. This is basically where it's going to start printing. So I'm going to change it to 4 millimeters. This is the sweet spot that we found. There's a little bit of trial and error. This is just to make it line up correctly when you start printing a badge, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later on. Everything else on here is correct. So I'm just going to click apply. Now we need to actually get the printer to reconfigure everything. So to do that, on the printer, you've got 3 buttons here. You've got a pause button, a feed button, and an X button. Now to configure the printer and to calibrate the printer, you need to hold down the pause and the X button for 2 seconds. What that's going to do is it's going to run a load of paper through. It's going to learn where the detection spot is. Now the first time we do this, sometimes it works immediately, sometimes it comes up with a load of red lights on there and it's not stopped in the right place. Don't worry, that's nothing wrong with the settings, you just need to do it a second time. So we're going to hold the pause and the X button again. And this time, it should stop in the right place. Again, if it doesn't, it's just a case of keep repeating until it does. Now, this has stopped in the right place. The lights on top, I've got a green main light and a pause button light. What I'm going to do, this is why we loaded blank stock in it to start with when we're first setting it up. We don't want to start wasting our pre-printed badge stock. So I'm just going to tear the badge, which proves to me that it has stopped in the right place. I'm now good to load in my pre-printed stock. So this is something that we've done in an earlier video with the Epson printer. So it's basically just getting all of the background, because these Zebras only print in black. So they can only do text fields and QR codes. So we've gone through and we've printed all of the design. So unloading the paper, click the buttons on the side and pull the paper back through. And then we need to make sure that we're loading the paper with the black mark first. So the first page that I've done, I've actually done a blank page because it's going to waste that first bit of paper. Black marks at the top. I'm going to feed that in from the back. Put it through about 1 inch and then close it down. Now the pause light's on, so we're going to press the pause light and it's going to feed through one badge. If the pause light isn't on at this point, you press the feed button, which is the one next to it. So pause light on, turning it off, and it's going to feed through one badge. Now the pause light was only on because it already was on before I opened the printer. If the pause light wasn't on when I opened the printer, that's when you just press the feed button. So it's fed through one badge, it tears off in the right place. This printer is almost set up, ready to go. Okay, so there's one final thing that we need to do before the printer is ready to go. At the moment, they have a tendency, like this one has just done, it goes into sleep mode, which means that green light we can see is flashing. If we were to send something to print, it just wouldn't print until we had pressed a button waking it up. So to do that, we need to go back to the Zebra setup utilities. So I'm going to close out of that. And from here, we're going to open communication with the printer. Now, with this, I expect you to memorize it. Don't write it down anywhere. It's nice and simple. I definitely don't have it written down anywhere. It's quite a long code that we have to put in. So exclamation mark U1. I'm definitely not looking at a prompt that I've got next to me. This is all from memory. Power. Energy. Underscore. Star. Dot. Enable. It's a shame that you can't just write please don't go into sleep mode. And we want to turn that off. So now by sending this to printer, there's actually a communication light that pops up on the printer flashing, telling us that that message that we have just sent that I had memorized is now sent to the printer. So that is no longer going to go into sleep mode. So this printer is now fully ready for us to start printing. So now we're ready to print a badge. So I found my badge. The design looks, it's a pretty basic looking badge. That's because all the design is already on the pre-printed badge. So I'm going to click print. And voila, all lined up, tears in the right place. We've got a nice looking badge. Now, a couple of things that you need to know with these printers, a couple of troubleshooting things that you might come across. They are fairly straightforward. Lining up the actual text itself with the badge, it's all about going through the offset. So if we go back into the printer settings, on this print options mode, the offset that I've got at the top, if you're finding that the badge design, the first name is printing a bit too high, you can just push that offset down a bit. So increase that offset to 6mm, 7mm. If it's too low, obviously the opposite way, you're shrinking that offset. The other things that you can come across with these, sometimes if it's just not printing, you can actually have an error on the printer. To see that, you would just go into the print queue and you would have a document that may have an error. If that's the case, clear the error, cancel the document, turn the printer off and on again, and then there should be nothing in the print queue and it should be able to work. A good way to test if the printer is actually synced up and connected to the laptop, you can print a test page and it'll just, as long as it prints out something, it shows that it's working correctly. Another thing to watch out for, if you turn the printer on before you've turned your laptop or whatever device you're running the printer on, sometimes it doesn't show up or it doesn't connect properly. Simple fix, turn the printer off and on again once you've already got your laptop running. If it still doesn't work, you can go in, you can forget the printer. So we can go in here, click remove device, Then if we unplug the USB, plug it back in, you should see that it pops up again. Now you will have to go back in and potentially add all the settings in again, so make sure that you've got the right width, the right height, that it's flipped 180 degrees. Then it'll be up and running again, and you can use that print test page to just check and make sure that it is working properly. Anytime that you need to reconfigure the printer as well, if it does start spitting out a load of badge stock, if you've got red lights on the top here, go in. Sometimes it's just a case of making sure that the media type's correct. Even if it does look correct, just click onto it again so that it gives you the options, click apply. Then hold down the pause and the X button so that it starts that reconfiguration process. The first time that you do it, it may come up with the error again and all the red lights. Don't worry about it. All you have to do is hold the pause and the X again and it'll reconfigure, and sometimes you just have to do that twice, sometimes 3 times. Just keep resaving the settings and making sure that you have got everything correct. Other than that, there's not a lot to them. They are really simple, easy devices to use, quick and easy. Nope, there is one more thing. Another thing to look out for is when they're in transit, sometimes the ribbon inside can get shaken around. So just open it up. Let's just take the badge paper back through and just make sure that the ribbon is held in nice and firmly. Sometimes if it's not actually in the teeth as it spins, it can either spit all the ribbon out the front, or it just doesn't actually print anything because it's not grabbing the ribbon. So just make sure that these tubes are nicely fixed in the teeth. I hope that explains everything about the ZD421T. We have got another printer video as well explaining all about the Epson TMC3500. That's actually the printer that we use for all our pre-printing. So do head over, check that out. If you want to see these in action, head to our website. We actually run them in kiosks, and then we've also got the big kiosks which use the full color printing Epson printers. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining.